Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Excel. In this module, I'm going to go through the basic functions and features that you get in Microsoft Excel. So I've opened Excel from the taskbar and I've got this opening screen, and what I'm going to do is create a blank workbook. So I'm clicking on this icon and then that will open a blank workbook, and it's called book 1, and it would be book 2 if I opened another one, and so on and so on. Now we would need to name this, and so I'm going to save this straight away. So I've got a floppy disk symbol there, the save icon. If I click on that, it will allow me to save this. I'm just going to call this my name. So I've got it saved and then save. So now instead of book 1, it will be called Steve. So now it's called Steve. You can see that. Just obviously I'd one there before. Now it's automatically gone onto my OneDrive and it's got this automatic save icon active, which means any changes I make, it will automatically save. If you don't want that to happen, you need to just turn that off, and then you would have to keep saving it to make sure it keeps the changes. So without that, it's up to you. If that's on, it automatically saves. Now what you get in a workbook is lots of sheets, lots of spreadsheets. So at the moment, this says sheet 1. If I click on this little plus, I get another sheet, and then again another sheet, and so on and so on. So you can have many sheets, but for this session we're just going to focus on one sheet. Now across the top you have columns. There are over 16,000 columns going across the top there, and rows, there is over 1 million rows. So these sheets are quite big. Now to refer to where you are on the sheet, you refer to the column letter and the row number. So if I click into that cell, as it's called, these rectangles are called cells, I am in column B, row 2. So the reference is B2. And if you look into this little box there, it's called the name box. That actually tells you where you are on the sheet. So wherever I click, that will tell me where I am. So there I'm now in E5. So I'm going to start off in cell B2. Before I start typing anything though, I just want to point a few things out. Across the top you get the ribbon. This is called the ribbon, which is consistent in most Microsoft products. And on that you have several tabs. So this is the home tab. The home tab is like a snapshot of some of the more common features that you would get on these other tabs. So sometimes you might think a feature is in two places. That's because the home tab has got the common features, as many as it can get on this ribbon. Then you've got the insert tab, which the idea behind the names is that if you wanted to insert something, you would come onto the insert tab. For example, charts are on the insert tab. You've then got draw. If you've got the ability to draw, you've got page layout. This is all to do with printing, really, setting things up. And formulas is where all the formulas or functions are in Excel. Now there are over 520, as I'm doing this video, functions in Excel, but they're growing all the time, so that could change. And these are just different categories of functions. So these are all to do with finance, and if I go to text, these are all to do with text, and so on and so on, date, time. Now I'm not going to do many of these on this session, but over the next few sessions I will be covering some of these. Then you've got the data tab. This is the tab that you would come onto if you was wanting to sort or filter a spreadsheet. Review tab, it's got some features on there that helps you review your data, including spelling. This is where spelling is, and thesaurus. The view gives you different options of different views, layout views and things like that. And then you've got this automate tab, which allows you to create some scripts, automate processes. And this developer tab might not be on. This depends whether you've activated it or not, but these are some of the more advanced features. And then you've got help and power pivot. Power pivot is also a feature that needs to be activated, so you might not have that either. If I go back to data, that would be activated by clicking this little green button there. So this is called the ribbon, and for this session I'm going to focus on features on the home tab mainly. Now below that you've got this little white bar, which is called the formula bar, with FX there, which gets you into the function wizard. If I just click on that, This is one place that you can come and find functions, and you can search for them in here, and it steps you through how to do them. Next to that, you have a little tick and a cross. So I'll just click into there so they're active. The tick means I agree with it. It's the same as pressing enter, except it doesn't move down. I tend to use the tick more than enter. Cross is quite useful to know about because that's going to tell you or let you get out of a formula if you're stuck and undo is not getting you out. So I'll talk about that in a bit more detail later on. But for now, I just want to start typing some information. So let's get this zoomed up so you can see it a bit better. So I'll zoom it up. So I'm just using my control key and my roller mouse. So in cell B2, I want to type MON, which is short for Monday. Then in the bottom right hand corner, there is a small, very small black cross. If I put my mouse there, it's a small black square, and when I sit on top of it with my mouse, it's a small black cross. And that is the fill handle, and I can pull that across, and it will come across like that and automatically fill in the days of the week. Now, before I go on, Excel's quite intuitive. If you type anything with a number after it like that and get that little black cross in the corner, it will automatically assume that you want to do a numerical list like that. It knows months and obviously days, and if you keep pulling it, it will keep going until you let go. And you can go down, you can go across, you can go up. Whichever way you go, it will put a list in for you. And if it picks up the full word like that, it will do the full word. I can come backwards as well if I want. If I pull that back, it's going to let me do that also. So it's quite intuitive the way it does that. I'll just delete all those off. Now, to continue with this one, I want to put total at the end there. And then I want to do some categories here. So I want to type car, tax, gas, water, electric. Should have probably put utilities and bills. Those are the categories I'm going to do. Then I want to total those up. And then I want to average those. And then I want the max and the min values in that list. So that's what I want. I'm going to have to make my screen a little bit smaller so I can fit everything in. Now I want to do a title, which is going to be weekly budget. So this is the title that's in cell A1, but I want this to come across the top and be centered. Now the way to do this is with this white cross. So this white cross is what you use to select things. The little black cross is what you use to fill things or copy things, which I just did there. I'll highlight those and delete them. I'm selecting across the top. I'm going to use this tool here, merge and center, which is going to merge all of those cells into one cell and then center it like that. Now, if I just clicked on merge and center on one of these, because I haven't highlighted anything, all it will do is the center bit like that, which is the same as clicking this tool or that one. However, if I highlight something and do that, it will center it and merge it. Now it's not centered it in the middle because it's just on the bottom there. This is where this slot comes in. So I can now click on that one, for example, and I've got it centered vertical and horizontal. Now I'm going to undo that because I don't want to do that. So I'm clicking on this little arrow, which will undo, back to square one. And now what I want to do, I want to sort of format this a little bit. So I'm clicking on weekly budget. I'm going to highlight all of this space. And what I want to put on here are borders. Now these rectangles, these cells have got grid lines on them, but they're very faint. So I want to make those stand out a little bit more. So this is where you go for all borders, and then that will put that on. Now I also want to highlight this space and color it in with this paint pot. So I'm going into the paint pot and the color that I want is orange. So I'm selecting orange like that. Now I also want to put the title in bold font. So I'm clicking on B for bold. And then I want to highlight the days of the week and the total there and make those bold like so. So the way it works in Excel is if I click into a cell and make it orange background, I'll change the font to a different color. Let's go for white. I don't know if that's going to work. And I'll make it bold, italic, and underlined. So if I then start typing my name, you can see my name just about there. The font color is not great. I should have left it on black, so I will put it on black so you can see it. But it's only that cell. It is not the cell below. It is only the cell that you select. So if I wanted that to be in multiple cells, I would need to highlight multiple cells and then do the same sort of thing. Now, if I go above that one and get that little black cross and pull it down, I can get rid of that by just copying down a blank cell. It's got rid of the format, and you can see there that that's now cleared off. So what I want to do in this little example is put some figures in here. So I'm going to type 10 and get that little black cross in the corner and pull it over. 10, 10, 10 it shall do, which is great. Now what happens if I want to go 10, 11, 12? This is what I could do. There's two ways you can do this. I can type 10, get the little black cross in the corner, pull it over, but don't let go. Hold your control key down first and then let go, and it will do what's called a step value of 1, like so. So it's got up to 14. Or I could have done this. I could go 5 and then 10 and then highlight those two. It doesn't look like you've got the 5 highlighted, but the first one is always see-through. Now if I get my little black cross on the 10 and pull it over, it will pick up that step, which in this case is 5. Now if I want everything else to be 10, if I type 10, pull it down so it comes down, pick it up, comes down, and then leave it highlighted and pick it up as a block and bring that across like so. Everything comes across 10, 10, 10. Now all of this wants to be in pounds, so I'm going to highlight all of the orange area and go up to the ribbon, this area. So this is the number group. Clicking this, that's the currency, or in this case accounting is a default set, but that's going to set that to pounds. If that sets that to dollars, you can change that in there if you want to, and also euros. But if you want other currencies, you need to go into this little icon, and then you can select from this drop down list whichever currency that you so wish, and there are many ones in there, including some that don't exist, like Welsh pounds. There's no such thing as a Welsh pound, but never mind, cancel that one. Now what I want to quickly do before I do any formulas or things like that, I want to get myself into H1 and use a key command to get today's date. So control semicolon will give you today's date. So that is the date. Now if I get the little black cross in the corner on the date field and pull it down, it automatically assumes that you want to increase by a day. So it's gone up like that, and it knows the calendar. It knows there's only 30 days in April, so that's quite clever. But it doesn't mean you can't do a step value if you want. So if I wanted that to be the 5th of May, let's change it up here to the 5th of May. So 5/5, and then I'm going to tick that. So now I've got a gap there of 7 days. If I hold that down, select it and pull it down now as a pair, it's going to pick up that step, and you get the step like so. So you can see that's doing your 7 day step. Now I'm going to color mine in again so you can see how this works. Because I did the key command for today's date, it's formatted these cells as date. These cells are accounting. These cells are just general blank, and all the formats, most of the formats are in there, the default ones. Now watch what happens here. Look, if I delete these dates, so when you delete stuff in Excel, don't use the backspace key. I will use the backspace key. It only does the first one. You want to be using your delete key, and then you can get rid of them all. Now, even though I've deleted that date, it's still formatted to date. So if I type 1 and I want that to be 1, when I click away, it will remember that the format was a date, so it's gone to the 1st of January 1900. Now if I want that to be a number or just general, I need to come up here and change that back to general, which is the default, and then it will actually show 1. Now if I do the date key command again, which is control semicolon. That's today's date. Now to the computer, that is just a number. So if I change that to general again, that will tell you what number it is for today. So it started on the 1st of January 1900, and it's added one every day since then, and it's got to today's date, which is 46140. And if I put that back to a date, you can see that as today's date, like so. Now, I'm not saying that when you delete anything in Excel that you should automatically put things back to general. You could, but that's probably a step too far for most people. But just be aware, if you type into a cell and it changes format, it's because somebody's typed there before, and that's all it is. You just need to go back up here and change the format back to what you want. Now, to clear a column off completely, so say this column is full of formats you don't like, you could basically highlight the column by clicking that, go into this drop down up at the top here and select the format you want. So if you wanted the whole column to be date, you could do that, and then anybody typing it anywhere in this column, it would be a date. If you want to get rid of the whole column and clear it off, you can right click once it's highlighted and select delete. It doesn't actually delete the column, it just resets it, but it's all reset back to general look. So you can see that's all now general. So that's just a little aside of what happens with formatting. Just have to be careful of that. Now, I just want to come down to the bottom here and color that cell in and talk about the order that you do sums. It's called mathematical precedence. If I wanted to type 2 plus 4 divided by 2, a lot of people would say that would be 3. So if I just go equals 2 plus 4 divided by 2, when I tick that, that is not going to say 3, that is going to say 4, because it's applied the rule of maths, and the rule of maths is, the mnemonic for it is BODMAS or BIDMAS. Brackets first. If there's no brackets, division, multiplication, plus, minus in that order, left to right. So there's no brackets on this one, so it did this first, 4 divided by 2. So this sum ends up being 2 plus 2. Now if I wanted that to be a 3, I'd have to open a bracket in front of the 2, and I'd have to close a bracket after the 4. After the 4, I'd have to close a bracket like that, and then tick that, and then that now says 3. So you just need to be aware of that. It doesn't apply to anything we're going to do on this session, but as you get a bit more involved with Excel and people do formulas, you need to make sure you know what order the sums are getting done. So I'm just going to delete that out of the way. What I want to do now is quickly go through the 4 main operators and show you how you should do formulas in Excel. So if you're doing a formula and you're not using any wizards, you must always start with the equal symbol. And then you are clicking on the cells, or you can type the cell references that you want to use. So I'm going to click with my mouse on B3. I want to add B3 to C3. So I'm going to do a plus, and then I'm clicking on C3. Now this next bit's really important. It does show you in the cell itself, but I'm going to say to you, they should always check your formulas at the top here. If that says B3 plus C3, that's what you want. You click in this little tick. Now, a lot of people would press enter there. I'm not saying enter is wrong, but I emphasize that you check the formula. That's what I want to do, check the formula, and I still click the tick myself. So I've got an answer there, £20. This is a dynamic cell reference formula, so if I change that figure to 20 and tick that or press enter on that one, that's going to pick up the result, and that's what you're after in Excel. You want it to be dynamic, so it's constantly picking up the result. Now I don't need to delete this to do the next one, I just need to do equals, and it will overtype that, not up there though, so I'll click that little cross. I need to be down here, equals. Now I'm going to do times, so I'm clicking on B3. The times symbol is the asterisk, which if you've got a number pad is on the top right. If you haven't got a number pad, it's shift and number 8 on your keyboard. So B3 times C3, and then I'm going to check it says that at the top, and then I'm clicking the tick, and I get 200, which is correct. That's times. Now divide next, equals again, just to overtype that. B3, the divide symbol is the /. Again, you've got that on the number pad on the right, and then C3. So B3 divided by C3, tick in that one, and I get 2. And then the last one equals B3 minus, which is a small little dash, C3, B3 minus C3, checking that, tick, and I get 10, which is correct. Now I'm going to press delete to get rid of that because I've gone through those. What I want to do now is introduce some functions to add up these columns. So I'm get myself into cell B9. I want to add up this list. Now I could go equals B3 plus B4 plus B5, etc. But that's not best practice. You have got a limit on how many pluses you can have in a sum, and it's not many. And it probably would negate 99% of Excel cells. Remember, there's over 1 million cells coming down this column. So the way you should use this is to use the sum function. Now on the home tab, you've got over on the right, you've got this auto sum button there. So I'm just going to click that, and this will grab, the computer will grab the list that it can see and that it thinks that you want to add up. In this case, it is correct. It says B3 colon, which means including everything in between, to B8. B3 to B8. That is what I want. Tick. And I get an answer of 65. Now the good news is I don't have to do that again and again and again. I can just get that one and get a little black cross and pull it over, right over into the blank total column, because I'm going to do the total one as well. I'm in cell G3 and I want to add up what I've spent on my car for the week. So again, I'm going up to the auto sum button. This time it looks left. B3 to F3, checking it up there. B3 to F3. Yep, tick. Now I can pull this down. Now, rather than pulling this down, as long as you've pulled something across the bottom there, I can get the little black cross and double click it, tap tap, and it will fill it down until it hits something or there's a gap. Now if I did not pull that across, it would come all the way down here, which would be adding up the averages, max and mins, which I don't really want to do. So that's why I pulled that one across to stop it doing that, and that's worked fine. Now coming back across to work out the average. Now I want you to imagine that this is 10,000 rows deep, because some people will be saying, well, you can just highlight things. I don't want you to be highlighting things. I want you to practice changing and editing the formulas up on the formula bar. The average and the max and the min are the most common functions after the sum function. So over on the auto sum button there, you've got a little drop down arrow where they live. All of these functions also live on the formula bar as well, on the formula tab as well. So I want average, and then it will grab the list, but this time it's not grabbing the correct list because it's coming down too far. It's coming down to B9. I need to backspace that 9 off and put an 8. I only want it to come down to B8. That's why I've got it colored orange, and then I'm going to tick that and pull that over, right over. So I've got the average of the weekly total, which is 5750. Now the same process will apply for max. As long as you get where you want the answer to be, if you're a bit unsure about where to click, think about this as a piece of paper. Where would you write with a pencil or a pen an answer of a list? That's where your cursor needs to be. You need to get yourself in there. So again, over to the sum button. Don't click the sum button, click the drop down arrow and select what you want. So this one's max. Now it's coming down to B10. So I'm getting in there and I'm backspacing that off. I just want that to be B8. And then I'm ticking that. And I get the maximum of 20, which I can see is correct, pulling that right over. And then the last one is min. Going up there, selecting min, changing the reference to B8, checking it, clicking the tick. The minimum spend is £5 and I'm pulling that across. So now we've set up this little spreadsheet, and if any of these figures change, these formulas are going to pick it up. So if I type 200 at the top there and press enter, the total changed, the average changed, the max changed, but the min didn't change. And these changed at the end as well. So that's what Excel's all about, creating little spreadsheets where you've got dynamic formulas that pick up any changes to the data. And I always color the area where the figures are going to go, which is what the formulas are looking at. And as you get a bit more involved with Excel, you can password protect this so nobody can delete your formulas or mess up your labels. The only place you allow people to type is in the yellow bit. or orange bit. Now let's do another one. If I come down to B16, I'm going to type week 1 and then use my little black cross in the bottom there to pull that across to week 5 and then do total. And now this one's just going to be income, expense and balance. So income, expense and balance, and then I want to work that out. But before I do that, I'm just going to do the same sort of formatting that I did before. So all borders. Now it's showing all borders because I've used it already, which means I can just click that. I don't need to drop the arrow down and select it. I can just click that and it will do it. Likewise, if I highlight this space, this is where the data is going to go. It's showing orange. I can click it and it will put orange in. Now I'm just going to come down a little bit because I want to show you something. If I get there, I need to do a little formula to work out the balance, which in this case is going to be equals, it's not a function, equals B17 minus B18. Then I'm checking it says that at the top, clicking the tick, and this time I don't get anything because there's no figures there. I've just got a 0, but I'm going to pull that 0 right over. And then watch what happens now. So I want to add up whatever goes into this income row, but the computer doesn't see any figures. So watch what happens. I'm going to click on sum, and because it can see figures above it, it guesses that you want to add these. I don't want to add those, so I'm not doing anything other than highlighting where I want it to look, which in this case is going to be B17 to F17. So I just came back like that with the white cross straight in the middle, like so. Check it says B17 to F17, click the tick, and then pull it down one cell, like so. I then want to highlight all of this and make it into money, and then you need to check it. So I'm going to give myself £10 for income and £5 expense, and I'm checking that this formula, the balance picks that up and that the totals at the end pick that up, which they do. So that's what you always do. This is how you set up a spreadsheet. Usually you don't have the data like this. You just have an idea of how you want it to look, and then you test it with some data, which you just did. Now the last one I want to do, if I come down into B21, I want to do like a little hours worked sheet. So I'm just going to do Bill and Ben, and then I want the days of the week. And this time I'm going to type the full day, Monday. Remember, if I type the full day, when I pull this down, it's going to do the full days, and I want to come down to Sunday, like so. Now when you do that, it looks like Wednesday's overlapping into column B, and it is. What you need to do is go up to the top here. Between the columns A and B, there's a dividing line. If you sit your mouse on top of that and double click, it will do autofit, and it will sort that out for you rather than dragging. You can actually drag. Now if I just come back up to the top a little while, let's make that a bit smaller. If you see hashes like this, it is just telling you for dates and numbers, for some weird reason it shows hashes, whereas for text it just shows you that it's overlapped, which is a bit more easy to understand. Now all you have to do is basically get on the dividing line of each of these columns and double click. Now if you've got lots of hashes, it's probably quicker to do this. In the left hand corner you've got a small triangle. If you click on that, it highlights the whole sheet, and then you can double click on any dividing line anywhere and it will do the whole sheet like that. So that's fixed it. So hashes you get for numbers and dates. Overlap you just get with when you type in text. Now I want to carry on with this one. So I want underneath that, I want total. So that's going to pick up total hours. Then I'm going to do a rate of pay. Then I want gross pay. And then lastly, net pay. Net pay. And then I'm going to do the same formatting that we've done already. So just about fits on there. So I'm highlighting all of this. I want to do the borders, show me borders. I can click on that. Then I need to highlight down to Sunday, click on the paint pot, and then so my formulas don't jump up into this area, I'm going to give both of these 10 hours work for Monday, 10-10. Now The formula I need to add up a list is the sum function. So over to the auto sum button. Now I'm going to click this. It grabs that 10 and everything underneath it, which is what I want it to do, but I need to check it B22 to B28, B22 to B28, yep, tick. And then I pull that over for the other guy. Now both of those are working, great. Now rates of pay, let's say both of these guys are on 11.25 an hour. I'm going to put Bill on £10 so I can work this out in my head first, and then I will change it back to 11.25 at a later date. So he's going to be on 11.25. So if Bill has done 10 hours at £10 an hour, he should get £100. So the formula needs to return £100, and if it doesn't, it means you've done something wrong. So equals the total cell, which is B29, times, which is the asterisk, B30. B29 times B30, ticking that, need to see £100, do see £100, happy teddy bear. Now I can pull that across for Ben, and he'll get £112.50, which is because he's got more money. So that's okay. I'll leave it like that for a minute. Coming back over to Bill, if I say he pays 30% tax on his wage, the answer should be £70. So this is what I need it to say. I'm going to do this little sum equals the £100 cell, which is B31, times 0.7, full stop and 7, which would be 70% of something. If I did 0.9, it would be 90, 0.5, 50% of something. So if I tick that, I'm expecting that to say 70, and it does. Then I can pull that one across for Ben, and he gets 78.75. Now, I wouldn't be betting on that in my head, working that out. So that's why I did tens, so I could work out 170, which I can work out. Now, these bottom 6 cells need to be all in pounds, pile of coins, and then this is ready to fill in. So I can just start typing some hours for these guys, and it will just work it out. Like so, you can see it adding up at the bottom there. So that's all I want to do in this little session. So we've looked at basically filling out a spreadsheet with some formulas. We've looked at the sum function, the average, max, min function. We've done formatting, we've done dates, we've done currency, accounting, and we've done 2 separate ones at the bottom. Obviously this hours ones is a decimal hours, so if you're doing it like this and somebody did 4 hours, it would be 4.5. If you wanted to do it in minutes, it's a different formula you'd have to use. But that's it for now. Hopefully this is of use. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one.